In this lesson, we're going to learn how to solve inequalities. Now, the nice thing about solving inequalities is that it's super easy if you know how to solve an equation, because there's only one small difference between solving an equation and solving an inequality, and that is when you multiply or divide by a negative number, the inequality switches direction. That is the one thing you need to remember. The rest of it is exactly the same. So just to look at a very basic example, what that would mean is if you had negative 2x is greater than 6, and you wanted to divide both sides by the negative 2, right? You want to get rid of that negative 2 so that you can isolate the x. Well, on the left-hand side, the negatives 2 cancel, and you're left with an x. On the right-hand side, 6 divided by negative 2 is just negative 3. But the key point here is that this greater than sign switches, and it becomes a less than sign. So that's basically what you need to remember. So let's go ahead and take a look at a more complicated example. Okay, let's say we have the example 3 minus 7 times x minus 2 is less than or equal to 5. So the first thing, if you remember, is we have to go ahead and we have to distribute the 7, the negative 7, right? We need to get rid of these parentheses. And so we get 3 minus 7x plus 14, because again, remember, you're distributing the negative and it's going to change the signs, is less than or equal to 5. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to combine like terms on either side of the equation. So we're going to combine the 3 and the 14, and we get 17 minus 7x is less than or equal to 5. Next, we want to get all x's to one side, but if you look, you can see that all the x's are by themselves. So the next thing we need to do is get all the numbers to the other side. So we're going to subtract the 17 from both sides of the equation. So the 17 minus the 17 cancel, and I'm just left with negative 7x is less than or equal to 5 minus 17, which is a negative 12. And so the last step that we need to do in order to get x by itself is we have to go ahead and we have to divide both sides by negative 7. And since we're dividing by a negative number, on the left-hand side we're left with x. On the right-hand side we're left with positive 12/7. But again, the important part is that this inequality switches direction and it becomes greater than or equal to. And when we graph this on the number line, here's my 0, here is my 12/7. I don't really care where it is, I just care that it's a positive number. It is greater than or equal to, so we have a filled in circle, and my arrow is going to the right. Now, the one last thing that I want to make sure is clear before I end this lesson is that you understand the difference between dividing by a negative number and ending up with something that is negative. So if you have, for example, 2x is greater than or equal to negative 4, and you know that in order to isolate the x, you have to divide both sides by 2. So on the left-hand side, we get x. Now, on the right-hand side, we get negative 2, and sometimes I have students who can get confused and say, oh, I have a negative, therefore I need to switch the inequality. But the fact of the matter is it has nothing to do with what the solution here is. It has to do only with what you're dividing by. And if you're dividing by a positive number or you're multiplying by a positive number, the inequality stays exactly as it is.